Alors, bonsoir tout le monde.
Good evening, everyone.
Bienvenue à cette réunion du
Welcome
Conseil municipal
to the
en
regular
ce,
public meeting of
en ce
Dieppe City
beau mois
Council
de
in
février.
this lovely month of February. We're the 12th of February today.
Et,
Without further
la
ado,
ville de Dieppe reconnaît
the
que
city of
la
Dieppe
terre
recognizes that the land on which it operates is part of
territoire
the unceded
ancestral
traditional
de la
territory
zone non cédée des Mi'kmaq.
of the Mi'kmaq.
Également, chers collègues,
Also, dear
ayons la
colleagues,
sérénité d'accepter
let's
les
have the
choses que nous ne
serenity to
pouvons pas
accept the
changer,
things we
le
cannot
courage de
change,
changer les
the
choses
courage to change the things we
et la
can,
sagesse de
and the
connaître la
wisdom
différence.
to know the difference.
Ceci nous amène à vous
This
souhaiter
brings
également
us,
souhaiter tous la bienvenue
me, to
et
welcoming you
rappeler la
to the meeting
réunion à
and
l'ordre.
to call this meeting to order.
Et on a un quorum ce
We have
soir.
confirmation of
Malheureusement,
quorum this evening. I know we have a couple of councillors away on holiday,
ça nous permet quand même de continuer
but we still have enough
et ça nous amène
to constitute
s'il y
quorum.
a des déclarations
So I will now ask if there are any conflicts of interest or if any have been received. Nothing has been received.
rien d'exprimé. Alors
Nothing has been expressed. Let's move on with the adoption of the agenda.
Proposition par le conseiller
Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Turgeon-Roy. On the question, there being none, all those in favor of the adoption of the agenda will say aye. Against, nay. The agenda is carried. Now let's move on to presentations, inquiries, and petitions. And as always, we begin with in our RCMP inspector, Inspector Farah, who we welcome this evening. We're always pleased to have you here with us. Let me find the mic and turn it on. Good evening. Welcome. Thank you, Your Worship. Well, I have a couple of facts to share with you this evening. Our officers from the community policing continue to be present in schools and community activities. A few weeks ago, on February 2nd, we organized a community cafe on a coffee shop on Albert Street in Moncton. Some 20 residents came to chat with us about all kinds of things. For example, how to either become a regular or civil member of the RCMP, but also to discuss various issues that they were having in the community. I can tell you that it was an interesting thing for us to do and very informative. And so now we're looking at other places, not only in Dieppe, but in Riverview, where we could organize the same type of event. So if you ever have any suggestions, please approach me with them. Secondly, recently, one of our police officers, Liret, and one of the dispatchers gave a presentation to the CAFE members. This is the Francophone Center for Immigrants and there's others. Speaking of the roles of police officers in our communities, these presentations are very important because there are people who come from all around the world, and as new arrivals, it's important for them to know, first of all, how to contact the police if they need help or information, and secondly, to know how policing works in Canada. These interactions are always very positive for us, and that's what I wanted to share with you. With regard to operations, I wanted to speak to you about 3 cases this evening. Among others, in patrols, a 37-year-old man in Moncton is now facing accusations after breaking into a residence on Worthington Avenue in Fredericton. This happened February 4th last at 2:40 in the morning. Members of the RCMP went to the location where there had been a break-in, which was in progress. The suspect of 37 years of age had tried to run away, but the citizen gave us good details and further directions, and the police officer ran faster than the suspect. He was arrested and brought to court. So Roch Godin appeared in court for various counts, including nighttime entry, possessing tools for breaking in, possession of contraband and tobacco. And I can also tell you that in searching him, we found proof that he had committed another theft at a second location. So what can we learn from this is that citizens' observations are critical. This was a live play-by-play. This person did not put themselves in danger, but let us know immediately, and we were able to dispatch a police officer and capture that suspect. There was another case. This is a 44-year-old man and a woman of 34 years of age, both from Moncton, who were arrested for possession of stolen goods, which we found in a residence. In January 2024, our police officers from Crime Reduction Unit and the Integrated Unit began an investigation about possession of stolen goods in Moncton. On February 1st, this 44-year-old man and the woman of 34 years of age were arrested for possessing criminal goods over a value of $5,000. We also did a search on a residence on Marsh Street in Moncton. This is where we recovered many stolen items, high-end bicycles and electric tools. I'm telling you about this because some of these items have been stolen from a warehouse in Dieppe. So what happens here has an effect elsewhere and vice versa. The reason our police officers were able to seize these things is because we had good identification markers. They were either series numbers or very detailed information about these items that had been stolen. For example, it was an Apple Watch or an iPad. They all look the same, but when you have a series number or very specific things about different things on the keyboard or these things, we can then look and identify them and then bring them back to the owner. So just a reminder to please be careful and mark your items. For example, if you're ever a victim of a theft, we need those ID numbers to return you the items. So people were very happy to get these items back. And my last operational item is regard to serious crimes. On February 5th, around 9:20, the RCMP learned that a shot was fired on Sands Road in Moncton. Upon arrival, they found a 16-year-old person who had been hurt, but unfortunately, after being brought to the hospital, succumbed to their injuries. It was deemed a homicide, and that evening we arrested another 15-year-old teenager. This person appeared in court and was accused of manslaughter. The investigation is still underway, and I remind you that if you have any information or want to share information about this incident, you can do it directly to F774200 or to Crime Stoppers. And related to traffic and the efforts we are putting forward to keep our roads safe, I can tell you that the tactical traffic group was here on February 2nd. During the operation, the Kariag RCMP joined with them, and we found 6 vehicles that were towed away because they were not safe to be on the road. 104 tickets were given, 17 for using manual items while driving, and 16 for not wearing a safety belt, and 28 for not having their vehicles inspected. We also gave a warrant to someone who was driving in a suspended license. Please check your expiration dates on your inspection stickers because it's not the same date as your license plate. They could be two different dates. If you have any questions, council members' questions? Councillor Jeannette. Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening. So recently, we have a Facebook group of citizens who talk about what's happening in our neighborhood, and twice there were some suspicious activity in the area. Someone who was walking on the street and who was checking the cars as they were walking down to see if any cars were unlocked. There were some thefts, so I reminded citizens to tell the RCMP that this was happening. Yes, quite right. It's the only thing. If we can get it as it's happening, that's great, because then we have chance to get a physical description. You know, if they were in a group, if they were part of a group or whatever. But even if you don't have it live, if you're looking at your footage the next day, give us this information because this at least gives us something, and then we can check to see if you with your neighbors if they have better camera footage, and we can put it all together. Unfortunately, these people disappear quickly if they're on foot. So it's the community policing, which are the residents who can do this because you know who should be in your neighborhood and not. So thank you for encouraging them to tell us because the only way. Yes, I was trying to explain to them that the best thing was to call as soon as you see someone on the footage that someone is outside, call immediately, and someone will be dispatched immediately. And then in the second place, the citizen answered and said, well, I know someone who called the next day with footage and they didn't do anything. So I wanted to know if you could maybe explain what the procedure is once you receive this camera footage with evidence and very clear images of someone who, and what happens with that afterwards for you to get them. In this case, there is more information that we have, and the faster we get it, the better. So if you see a suspicious person, it has to be very clear with dispatch saying, look, there's someone very suspicious here. He's looking or they're looking into cars. I don't know this person. I'm pretty sure they're trying to break into cars. So that's a key sentence. Say, okay, then we dispatch someone to that street and to have descriptions because whether you want to or not, there are all kinds of people who are walking out on the sidewalks. So if you don't know, they have a cap, they have a red jacket, they have a backpack, you need the description to give us some indication of what's happening because it could be almost anyone. Also, I hear these stories, but when I check, I didn't get a call about it. So I will encourage you to say, look, call us. And if we're not doing a good job, then make a complaint to me and then I'll look at it. But if I don't have the information, I can't do it. So please call us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Any further questions? None? Okay, I just want to tell you about a complaint I had over the weekend, and I've provided the information to the CEO, but on Lakeburn Street, we have a bunch of new construction underway, and so we're talking about many hundreds of new citizens. And Lakeburn's road didn't have much traffic, it was single family homes, but now there's a lot of very fast moving traffic along that road. So we're going to see what we can do. But people say, put speed bumps in right away. But unfortunately, we can't put speed bumps in around the town, around the city, because then the complaints are going to come from people, from all the people who are traveling and taking streets. So I just want to tell you about that area of the city because there are perhaps even some councillors who live in that new neighborhood. Yes, I will bring that to their attention. And I would also say to citizens that if you are speeding in in the neighborhood, they're your neighbors. Tell us about it. If you're not going to tell them about it, then tell us and give us the license plate numbers. And if it's a yellow Ford Mustang, and they're always between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning, then we can let that be known and be more visible and have a very specific effect on those who are committing speeding infractions. I don't know if my comment raised other issues, but don't be shy. But have a great evening. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. This brings us to item 7.2, a public hearing. Mr. Melanson. This evening, we have a public hearing for a zoning bylaw. Charles-Éric Landry will be doing a presentation on the CM zone mini storage warehouse use. The floor is to Mr. Landry. Yes, thank you, Your Worship, and members of council. This is a presentation about a request to amend the text amendment of the zoning bylaw concerning the CM zone. This public hearing is happening this evening. So in my presentation, first of all, I'll give you an overview of various dates and the various stages of the amendment procedure. Then there will be a description of the proposed project for this amendment, and I will be presenting the proposed amendments to you. So, if you remember, the beginning of the procedure began December 11th, 2023. We're now holding the public hearing. Next week, on February 21st, they will be in front of Notice 110 in front of the Planning Committee. This will bring us to a decision that is to be taken next March 11th. Here is the CM zone, and you have a map here which shows you this zone, which is along Dieppe Boulevard. These are commercial sites along the boulevard. You can see that it starts from Champlain Street and goes to past Antonin Maillet School, but there are some all along Dieppe Boulevard. The application is the result of a project that was proposed for this site between Murray and Yvonne Streets, which was applied for by Quest Capital. It was for a mini storage warehouse. Let me show you, because we have an image of what a mini storage warehouse is. So I have a few pictures here. So traditionally, what we have seen, this is the picture, which is on the left with the strike through the red circle, where you see many buildings with all the units which are accessed from the outside with garage doors, etc. It's a only type of usage, and we think that this would not belong in the CM zone, but it's permitted in zone CE, IP, and IG. So these are zones that either are more industrial based or road commercial or more rural, perhaps. What has been proposed to us, and the example was sent to us, is this image on the right. It's one building only. The storage units are within the building. Access is done through the inside of the building, so there are not many doors around the building. These are hallways inside with various storage units. People bring what they want to store inside and put them into their units inside the building. This is an example that was proposed to us, a two-story building in this case. But we have seen in other situations that there could be more floors than this. And in other situations, and in similar projects, we've seen the presence of businesses as well. So that would distinguish this application. So you can see there's a variety of buildings and what they can resemble other commercial buildings that we already find along Dieppe Boulevard, be it the Superstore, which is under construction, or Jean Coutu. These are the kinds of buildings it might resemble. So we think that it would fit into the context of Dieppe Boulevard. Now, this brings us to the idea that the use could be authorized in this CM zone, but with specific issues which are set out for this purpose. So here is what is being proposed to the amendment that is being brought to the public hearing. So a minimum of 2 stories, that it includes a combination of other commercial uses in the first 5 meters around or on the main floor and facing the street. So there would be a possibility of having stores or restaurants on the main floor. You cannot have any outside storage units. So there would be no storage for heavy vehicles, motorized vehicles, or any other outside storage. And you would need a 25% proportion of windows facing the street per floor, and that the windows would not give into the interior of the storage units. So the windows which face Dieppe Boulevard could not look into the storage units. So for example, you wouldn't see any boxes inside the storage units. So the hallways which are along the outside walls and the garage doors, which would allow you to bring your goods in, would have to be behind the building and not facing the road. So we created an example of what it could look like. This was created by our service. So this isn't the picture of what's being proposed. It's just to give you an idea of what it could possibly look like. So you can see here on the left-hand side in red, these would be the hallways that go around the outside of the perimeter of the floor. The storage units are inside that, so you would have to go along these hallways to get access to the units. And then the first behind the windows are commercial units. And so it's other than the storage, which is on the main or the ground floor. Before I go on to comments and questions, we have someone from the promoter who's here who would be able to come and speak and talk about the project.
Good evening. My name is Harold Daly. I'm with Quest Capital. Thank you for allowing us to present our mini storage building for Dieppe Boulevard. Just have a couple of short comments, and then I'm available for any questions that anybody might have. Essentially, this is more of an urban style storage building where you get height instead of having as Charles Eric explained, having many buildings spread over a large area. We're taking advantage of the land area and going up about 2 to 3 stories, probably 3 stories. And the facade of the building facing Dieppe Boulevard will look very much like a commercial office building. There was a rendering of a mini storage in your presentation that the mini storage partners that we're working with have done in other locations. You'll see buildings like this in other urban centers. They've done in Halifax, St. John, and in Western Canada. What it does for us, and I think it'll complement many multi-residential apartment builders, is that, as we all know, when you're building apartment buildings, it's difficult to build large apartments because of the cost. So all of us are building smaller units with not a lot of storage in them, which is a problem for many folks. So we like the ability to have a mini storage in this area because it's going to be very close to a number of multi-residential apartment buildings where storage might be challenging. And it's in a building that's going to be attractive and kind of add to the development that we're planning on Keith Road. So yeah, and as you know, in that area, Dieppe has a large number of single-family homes as well, and we've heard that even in houses, it's challenging with storage as well. So there's going to be a lot of different sizes of storage units available, from 100 square feet to 200, 300, 400 square feet of storage available within the units. And as Charles Eric said, it's not like the traditional storage where you get a bunch of orange doors that are somewhat unattractive. You go inside, you drive into the unit, and then you unload your car. There's elevators to take you up to the various floors. So it's very good. But anyway, that's all I have to say. Does anybody have any questions? Or?
Merci. Thank you. Any questions from members of council? I don't see any, so I guess the description, the combination of the description and the drawing obviously seem to have done the thing.
Thank you.
So thank you for your presentation. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres personnes?
Are there any others? Mr. Girard. Thank you, Your Worship. I imagine that Charles Eric was coming back to take the floor to add that we have received no formal objections to this project. Yes, that's what I wanted to add, and also to tell you that this isn't only for this specific project, but to tell you that according to the criteria, we think that similar projects would come to the CM zone, and this would be placed within this. So that's why we're looking for a text amendment. Thank you. Have these comments added further information for members of council? There are no further questions. So thank you for this presentation. Are there any further questions from the members of public? There are no questions. Let us move on then to adoption of minutes from the regular council meeting held January 22nd last, moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau. On the question, there being none, all those in favor of the resolution will say aye. Against, nay. This motion is carried as passed. This now brings us to 10, item 10, memorandums, motions. I think we have a bunch of them tonight. So with regard to environment, 10.1, I'll ask the CAO to guide us in this process. Thank you, Your Worship, and good evening, everyone. Yes, there are all kinds of issues being put on the agenda, so let's go. You have in front of you a recommendation to continue an initiative we began in 2021 for the fourth consecutive year to support a thing called Dandelion Madness. And in May of every year, we invite people to mow their lawn, to promote nature taking hold on their grounds, and this would be beneficial for bees and all other living things. So I'm sure you're aware of this initiative, and this will allow us to authorize this initiative in May 2024, which goes along with our bylaw on lawns. Thank you. To read this resolution, Councillor Jeanette. Thank you, Your Worship. The Council renew the Dandelion Madness initiative for the month of May 2024, during which the population is invited not to mow the lawn or parts of the lawn in order to promote the presence of flowers for pollinating insects. I so move. Moved by Councillor Genet, seconded by Councillor Turgeon-Roy. On the question, Councillor Godet had a question first. Councillor Godet. Thank you, Your Worship. Do we have any statistics about the number of households that are participating in this month? No, it's no obligation. People are free to do it or not. Is there any evidence that this is working? By way of example, if you cut your grass, the next day, the dandelions pop right back up. So I'm wondering if it changes anything at all. Do you have any specifics about this? We're looking for help. I know it's based on group facts. So we're talking about the presence of pollinating insects. So it helps us give the springtime flowers a little help. So we're looking to recruit a student from the University of Moncton to inventory insects on the parts of the lawns that have been left to grow. So we're going to be doing a local analysis in Dieppe to get the data for us. One other quick question. Is there a bylaw on chemical products? That's a provincial issue, if I'm not mistaken. Great, thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Chenet.
So here's my question. Beyond the citizen initiative, we had also designated parts of the city that would participate, but did we also think of maintaining this on a longer term basis? So keeping certain parts of the Ville to enhance the benefits of biodiversity. So targeting special areas that would be protected for that purpose. Yes, well, I don't want to reveal all my cards there that I'll be announcing for the next summer, but there will be announcements coming this later this year. Thank you, Your Worship. So just a question. Does the city participate in that initiative? Last year, I was criticized by on a number of times why we were asking people to not cut their grass. But we were cutting we were cutting the grass in certain playgrounds and things like that. So do we participate in the initiative? Well, around City Hall, that's an area that's been identified as a participating, and then alongside streets, some of the streets as well in May. So yes, we do participate in some places, but in certain places we have to cut the grass, like on sports grounds, parks. There are places where we have an obligation to cut the grass, but there are identified areas where there's no risk to any activities. All right, thank you. All right. So just so that you know, the mayor has been participating for 4 years, so I encourage you to do so as well. All right, now we need a resolution. So moved by Madame Janet, seconded by Madame Tourneau. So all those in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. 10.1.2 now, signing authority development agreement, Mr. Menesson. So here we're talking about signing an agreement with the Petite-Kodiak Watershed Alliance for a project that we want to implement. It's a rain garden type green infrastructure. So it's a lower lying area, and we want to implement all the best practices that we can. So environmental services came with this proposal, and so we're recommending signing the agreement. And we're looking to do this in a park. So who would like to read the resolution? Mr. Godet, please. Thank you, Your Worship. That council authorize the municipal signing officers to sign the agreement between the City of Dieppe and the Petite-Kodiak Watershed Alliance for the construction of a rain garden type green infrastructure at the Rotary Saint-Anselme Park. So moved. Moved by Councillor Godet, seconded by Councillor Brideau on the question. Ms. Janet. I just have a comment to make. I'm very pleased that this is finally being done. We've had the funding for some time, so I'm happy that today we're going to be able to use those funds. I think it'll be very beneficial for that region, which was very wet. You couldn't walk in that area, so it'll be very pretty as well. All right, any other comments? All right, those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously as presented. 10.2, engineering services. Water distribution system master plan. Mr. Menesson. All right, this is to authorize Englobe Corp to update the master plan for a cost of $80,000. And with the announcements and with all the projects that are on in the pipeline, we want to make sure that our master plan incorporates the new areas and that we have the capacity to distribute water. So that's why we're running to update the master plan and to allow a group to start the work. All right, who would like to read the resolution or the motion? Mr. Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council authorize Englobe Corp to undertake the engineering services for the project entitled Update of the Water Distribution System Master Plan at a cost of $80,000 plus HST, and further authorize this expenditure be defrayed from account number 2-2-90-58-2585, Water and Sewer Operating Budget, Engineering Services, Engineering Water. So moved, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Turgeon-Roy. On the question. No questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The motion carries as presented. 10.2.2 now. Again for the engineering department. Reconstruction portion of Leblanc Road. All right, this is to hire XP Services to work on Leblanc Road. It's worth $160,000 plus HST. And as we presented during the budget process, we anticipate doing some reconstruction work on this road. So the part that existed before the annexation of territory. So this is to give us a more preliminary idea of the work to be done and to better understand what the implementation costs might involve. So this is the step one before going on to further steps. So, all right, who wants to read the motion? Councillor Le Boutier, please. Thank you, Your Worship. That council authorize XP Services Inc. to undertake the engineering services for the project entitled Leblanc Road Reconstruction at the cost of $160,000 plus HST, and further authorize this expenditure to be defrayed from account number 3-3-35-58-76-79, General Capital Budget, Leblanc Road, Phase 1, and account number 4-3-90-58-76-79, Water and Sewer Capital Budget, Leblanc Road, Phase 1. So moved, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Le Boutier, seconded by Councillor Gaudette. Sorry about that. On the question. No questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Oh, Mr. Gaudette, go ahead. Sorry about that. I hadn't seen your light on. Thank you, Your Worship. I just now I've kind of had this has been answered partially, but so if this project is going ahead, but when will the residents be notified? We had a presentation here, and I've received call from residents that are worried because they're worried about various issues. So is that going to is this going to be explained at a later meeting? Well, I don't have a date yet, but the plan is to have meetings, yes. But we want to be better equipped with information, and so Leblanc Road. Well, now that we know that this is going to come out, I've already had calls from residents. So just to let you know, it's good that residents know what is included in this work. Well, as we do with other projects, we're going to pay this project over a 10-year period. So the same parameters, the same conditions will be offered to people living on Leblanc Road. All right. Any other questions? All right. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The motion carries as presented. That brings us to 10.3 in operations. Mr. Melanson. All right, here, this is part of an asset management, and this is for the next 4 items. This one deals with the purchase of a snow blower, a Ville VL200 model. It's being offered to Ville Inc. at a cost of $270,000 plus HST. We received 2 bids, and so this will allow us to replace a piece of equipment. All right, who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Turgeon-Roy, please. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council award the tender for the purchase of a snow blower 2024 Ville VL-200 model for the Operations Department to Ville Inc. at the cost of $270,000 plus HST, pursuant to its proposal dated January 9th, 2024, and authorize expenditure be defrayed from account number 3-3-20-12-7901, General Capital Budget, General Equipment Purchase, PW. So moved. Moved by Councillor Turgeon-Roy, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau on the question. No questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. All right, the resolution passes as presented. The next item, again, is another tender award. Mr. Melanson. Well, just maybe to add what I said earlier, this is where that piece of equipment was at the end of its life cycle. For this one, this resolution deals with a 2024 Develon DL 280-7 model at a cost of $384,835, and it's being awarded to Paul Equipment and Sons 2008. We received 6 bids, and it's to replace a equipment that dated back to 2007. All right, who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Brideau, please. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council award the tender for the purchase of a wheel loader 2024 Develon DL 280-7 model for the Operations Department, as well as the installation of accessories on said loader to Paul Equipment and Sons 2008 at the cost of $384,835 plus HST, pursuant to its proposal dated January 9th, 2024, and authorize this expenditure be defrayed from account number 3-3-20-12-7901, General Capital Budget, General Equipment Purchase, PW. So moved. Moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Jeannet on the question. No questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed by nay. The resolution carries as presented. Moving on to item 10.3.3. All right, this is another tender award for a wheel loader, a different model, a Develon DL 320-7 model this time. This is a bid that was received from Paul Equipment and Sons 2008. The cost is $436,235 plus HST. And it's replacing a piece of equipment that dates back to 2000. Now I can't remember exactly, but 2008. So we're replacing it with a 2024 model. We received 6 bids in this process. All right, who would like to read the resolution? Mr. Godet, please. That Council award the tender for the purchase of a wheel loader 2024 Develon DL 320-7 model for the Operations Department, as well as the installation of accessories on said loader to Paul Equipment and Sons 2008 at a cost of $436,235 plus HST, pursuant to its proposal dated January 9th, 2024. Oh, I think you have the wrong. I think we have the wrong one. Okay, I think we're going too fast. We'll start the song back at 0. Okay. That council award the tender for the purchase of a wheel loader 2024, a Devlon DL 320-7 model for the operations department, as well as the installation of accessories on said loader to Paul Equipment and Sons 2008 at the cost of $436,235 plus HST, pursuant to its proposal dated January 9th, 2024, and authorize this expenditure be defrayed from account number 3-3-20-12-7901, General Capital Budget, General Equipment Purchase, PW. So moved. Moved by Councillor Gaudette, seconded by Councillor Turgeon-Roy. Did you have a question? Inaudible. It's 436,235. Okay, thank you for the correction. Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. So the item 10.3.3 carries as presented. 10.3.4 now. Tender award, purchase, wheel excavator. Mr. Melançon. Now this was following an RFP. We received 5 bids. Paul Equipment and Sons 2008 was the one that was chosen. Once again, a cost of $346,323 plus HST, and this is to replace a 2006 model, if I remember correctly. Who would like to read this resolution? Councillor Leboutier, please. Thank you, Your Worship. That council award the contract for the purchase of a wheel excavator 2024 Devlon DX190W-7 model for the operations department to Paul Equipment and Sons 2008 at the cost of $346,323 plus HST. Proposal to its proposal dated January 9th, 2024, and authorize that this expenditure be defrayed from the following accounts. So 65% of the cost from account number 3-3-20-12-7901, General Capital Budget, General Equipment Purchase, PW. 20% of the cost from account number 4-3-90-12-7901, Water and Sewer Capital Budget, Equipment Purchase, Water. 15% of the from the account number 4-3-95-12-7901, Water and Sewer Capital Budget, Equipment Purchase, Sewer. So moved, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Leboutier. Sorry about that. Seconded by Councillor Brideau on the question. No questions. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. 10.3.4 carries as proposed, as worded. 10.3.5 now, land transfer Village Beaubois subdivision. Mr. Melançon. All right, here we are looking at the donation of land that's located in Beaubois, in Village Beaubois rather. So it's an area, it has an area of 866.2 square meters situated on Plateau Crescent. So the only costs here are transaction costs that are estimated to be about $1,500. So we recommend to authorize this contribution and the payment of fees. All right, who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Thibodeau, please. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council approve the transfer of lot number 24-1000, portion of PID 70695127 with an area of 866.2 square meters, situated on Plateau Crescent, from the developer 716928 NB Inc. to the City of Dieppe at no selling price. That Council authorize the payment for the city's legal fees and disbursements related to the said transaction in the estimated amount of $1,500, and further authorize that this expenditure be defrayed from account number 3-3-35-58-7602, General Capital Budget Land Purchase. And that Council authorize a budget transfer from account number 7-4-20-12-8950, Reserve Fund, Land for Public Purposes, to account number 3-3-35-58-7602, General Capital Budget Land Purchase, to cover the above noted expenditure. So moved. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Jeannet. On the question. No questions. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution carries as presented. 10.3.6 now. Land transfer, Roman Catholic Archbishop of Moncton Subdivision, Mr. Melanson. All right, here again, this is to deal with a donation without a selling price from Tridev Corporation, and it involves a property on Beaudomaine in Beaudomaine Côte. So, and the costs here come from the transaction itself, and we estimate it to be about $5,000. So we are very thankful to the developer for his awareness and his sensitivity to our needs, our green transportation needs. All right, who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Godet, please. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council approve the transfer of lot 24-B, portion of PID 70698741, with an area of 2,313.5 square meters, situated south of the properties on Beaudomaine Court in the Roman Catholic Archbishop of Moncton subdivision, from the developer Tridev Corporation to the City of Dieppe at no selling price. That Council accept to reimburse the developer the total estimated amount of $5,000 for survey and transfer fees, as well as legal and disbursement fees related to said transaction, and further authorize that this expenditure be defrayed from account number 3-3-35-58-7602, General Capital Budget Land Purchase. That Council authorize a budget transfer from account number 7-4-20-12-8950, Reserve Fund, Land for Public Purposes, to account number 3-3-35-58-7602, General Capital Budget Land Purchase, to cover the above noted expenses. So moved. Moved by Councillor Godet, seconded by Councillor Jeannet. On the question. Question? It's not a question. Oh, this property is situated at the south of the property. So, and whereas somebody had said it was the north of the property. So just for the record, just to correct that for the record. All right, if there are no further questions or comments, those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution carries. And we are very thankful to the developer for their dedication to greenery in the city. 10.4.1 now. A PAC recommendation amending tentative plan for the Vieux Moulin subdivision, Unit 6. All right, so here the recommendation of the PAC committee is to specify the location of the lands for public purposes, and you have that in your document. So this is about approving the recommendation of the PAC. And so I submit this for your consideration. All right, Councillor Turgeon-Roy. That Council accept the Planning Advisory Committee's recommendation relating to the acceptance of the Vieux Moulin subdivision Unit 6 amending tentative plan, which provides for the location of lands for public purposes. So moved. Moved by Councillor Turgeon-Roy, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau. On the question. No question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution carries as presented. Next item. PAC recommendation amending tentative plan, the Herman subdivision. All right, here again, the PAC committee is recommending three things. So the extension and location of Herman Street, and the renaming of Pioneer Street to Herman Street, and that the developer pay the amount of $11,920 in lieu of lands for public purposes, which represents 8% of the market value of the subdivision lands. So we validated the value, and that is what is prescribed in the procedure. So there you have it for your consideration. All right, who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Thibodeau, please. Thank you, Your Worship. The Council accept the Planning Advisory Committee's recommendation relating to the acceptance of the Herman subdivision amending tentative plan, which provides for the extension and location of Herman Street and the renaming of Pioneer Street to Herman Street, and further accept that the developer pay the amount of $11,920 in lieu of lands for public purposes, which represents 8% of the market value of said subdivision lands. So moved, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Brideau. Sorry about that, Mr. Brideau. I seem to keep forgetting your name. All right, on the question. Question, Councillor Le Boutier, please. Thank you. I just have a question for clarification. Normally, now, why did we decide not to grant land for public purposes? Why are we recommending that, or why are they recommending that rather? Thank you for the question. I think on the evaluation side, we didn't need land in this case, so we decided to go and get money and to ask for money instead. There was not any possibility for connecting trails, given the size, the width of the land. It wouldn't have resulted in land that would have been useful. So 10% of a small parcel of land was not very useful. So, and that's why we preferred the money in this case. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Godet. Thank you, Your Worship. Two questions. First one, how did we establish the amount? Because there are two houses on that plot there, so how did we come to that price? This was done by a professional assessor, and he uses the the methodologies that are always the same. So we accepted his report, and the land was assessed at that value, and we take 8% of that value. That was what was in the report. Okay, well that's the question. I mean, there are two big these are two big pieces of land and there are two houses. So I'm sure that it's more than that amount. I just wanted to know how you arrived at that value. Well, we didn't do the work. It's an exterior, an outside firm specialized in that. So they have a methodology that they use. They consider the value of what's on the land and what the potential value is. So it's part of their rationale. And you know, they do the same thing when we do assess other properties in the city. So there's nothing different here. Well, my question was, you know, how it was about assessing what's on the land with the land as well. Oh, there's someone here. Just 1 second, I'll turn your mic on. Well, the land is without the houses. So one of the houses was sold and the other land was subdivided, and so what's remaining is just the land itself there.
Une autre question. Ben, c'est comme un commentaire, là, c'est pas vraiment une...
That's a comment. It wasn't really a question. The development allows it because the zoning is good. So the only thing I have trouble with is the size of the lots. 23.5 meters. Another was 30 meters. It's just that there are no lots, as Councillor Le Boutillier said. There's no lands for public purposes at all. So there's small lots. So they're cutting, you know, we're going to have a tree bylaw soon, and there are a lot of beautiful trees on these lots, and we're going to have to review the size of lots, because with that size, you're not going to have room to plant a lot of trees, at least in my opinion. Just to, you know, I'm not against development. I'm totally in favor of it, but there have been a lot of variances for this, and so that's why I'm not really supporting this development. Thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Chanet? No. Councillor Le Boutillier? And the reading? If there are no further comments, Councillor Le Boutillier moved the resolution. It was moved by Councillor Thibodeau. That's right. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau and seconded by Councillor Jean-Marc. Sorry. Oh, I'll get there. On the question, all those in favor of the resolution will say aye, against nay, and no registered for Councillor Godet. This brings us to consulting services, 10.5.1, tender award consulting services, strategic planning for years 2025 to 2029. Yes, so our strategic plan is coming up to the end of its 5-year term. So this year, we have to begin an exercise of reformulating our strategic plan and develop an action plan with regard to reflect our ambitions. So we've invited external firms. We've received 3 answers. So Espace Stratégie is being recommended for a maximum of 85,000 plus HST for 2025-2029 strategic plan. It's our recommendation for this evening. Thank you. To read this resolution, Councillor Jeannin. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council award the contract for consulting services to Espace Stratégie at the maximum cost of $85,000 plus HST in connection with the development of the city's 2025-2029 strategic planning and authorize this expenditure be defrayed from account number 1-2-20-12-2590, General Operating Budget, Administration, Other. I so move. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Jeannet, seconded by Councillor Brideau on the question. There being none, all those in favor of the resolution. Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor Thibodeau has a question. Thank you, Your Worship. I have a question for clarification. So when we do purchases like this, we've been given the names of different companies that participated, but we're only telling us the name of the winning tender. You didn't say what the other things is. Is there a reason we don't get that information? Madame Landry, do you have various criteria that the selection committee used in order to choose Espace Stratégie? Differently than what was presented preceding this, it is not subject to the act. So public tenders, so it's a call for expressions of interest. 4 companies were invited, 3, and I can tell you the name, the 4 of them, if you want. There was Innovitech, Espace Stratégie, Colbloom, and O Stratégie here in Moncton. So 3 Quebec firms did not answer our invitation. So we had different criteria. And we used the committee to look at these. And we had someone assess all the proposals. And the one which we kept was Espace Stratégie. Okay. I just thought that the council, even if it's legislated, could have had the assessments as we do for others. We can certainly share the assessment grids with you and the criteria that were used to assess the proposal and other purchases too. Service purchases are different than equipment purchases. Could we have the same grid? Yes, we'll share that with you. Thank you. Thank you. The resolution, which has been moved by Councillor Jeannet and was seconded by Councillor Brideau. On the question, all those in favor of the resolution will say aye. Against, nay. Passed as read. Your Worship, for strategic planning, people are going to be called to meetings with discussions with the consulting firm. I want to give you a foretaste of what's going to be happening because there will be meetings with this consulting firm. Thank you. The next item is bylaw Z2. As we have said since the outset, with lands that have been annexed or amalgamated, we have to change bylaws and integrate the new lands. So the dangerous or unsightly purposes is changing because we have to add these lands to the act, and so we need a third reading. For the third reading, Councillor Jeannet. Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw Z-2 2024, a bylaw of the Municipality of Dieppe respecting dangerous or unsightly premises pursuant to the authority vested in it by the Local Governance Act, SNB 2017, Chapter 18. The Council of the Municipality of Dieppe duly assembled enacts as follows. 1. Sections 130 to 145 and 151 to 155 of the Local Governance Act, including any amendments thereto, shall apply to all City of Dieppe territory pursuant to its existing bylaw respecting wards. Repeal bylaw Z-2 2018 entitled A Bylaw of the Municipality of Dieppe respecting dangerous or unsightly premises, ordained and passed on November 26, 2018, is hereby repealed. I move it be read in its entirety. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Jeannet, seconded by Councillor Brideau. Question? There being none, all those in favor of this motion will say aye. Against, nay. Carried as presented. Now, third reading by title. Bylaw Z-2 2024, a bylaw of the municipality of Dieppe respecting dangerous or unsightly premises. I so move third reading by title. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Jeannet, seconded by Councillor Brideau. On the question, are there any questions? There being none, then bylaw Z2 is carried for its last reading. Now, bylaw E1 2024, tree bylaw. Here, with the extension of Dieppe Boulevard, when we passed the bylaw last June, it was for the territory where there were services. Now that we are enlarging the boundaries of Dieppe with services, then we have to add this. So this evening, we are going to do first and second reading, and then the last readings to add this territory and put them under the same rules as bylaw E1, tree bylaw. So we're looking for your support and approval this evening. Thank you. For the first reading, Councillor Brideau, please. Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw E1 2024, tree bylaw, City of Dieppe. I so move its first reading. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Brideau in first reading, seconded by Councillor Turgeon on the question. All those in favor of this resolution will say aye. Against, nay. Pardon me. This bylaw is passed in first reading. Now, second reading by title alone. Bylaw E1 2024, tree bylaw, City of Dieppe. I move its second reading. Thank you. Move by second reading, bylaw E-1, and move for second reading and seconded by Councillor Turgeon. All those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Against, nay. And so second reading is passed. And this brings us to item 12, notices of motion. Nothing has been received. No, there are no notices of motion, Your Worship. Item 13, inquiries and announcement by members of council. Let's begin with Councillor Godet. Good evening. Good evening, and thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing to add for tonight's meeting. Thank you. Councillor Le Boutillier. Thank you, Your Worship. It'll be short for me. I don't know if any of you have recently watched what's happening in a town in the Laurentides. They're the first ones in North America to have artificial intelligence called LINUT. And given we want to be an innovative city, I thought that it might be an idea to look at it and offer it to our citizens as well. It's very special. You're told quite quickly what information for residents. So I wanted to bring this to your attention. Thank you. That's it for me tonight.
Councillor Jeannet. Thank you, Your Worship. There is a lot of cultural events happening in our city and in the Greater Moncton region recently. So I thought I'd mention a few of them. I hope I don't forget too many of them. So just a reminder that this month is Black History Month. I encourage you to go and see what the programming is. There's a few events happening in the city. Recently, there was the new Chinese Lunar Year and the new Vietnamese Year, and I attended both. And it was great. It was a great evening. At the Chinese event, there was a great show with a high quality of performers. It was a very high level event. It was very impressive. And then the same thing for the new Vietnamese New Year. It was a great. So there were amateurs that got up on the stage. It was great to see people that were stepping out of their comfort zones and to sing and then there's a tradition of young people as well that come and get their lucky money, and it's an envelope that they receive each year. Then there was also the Hubcap comedy show that also took place in the region. It was very fun to see. There were comedians from Quebec and from throughout the region, and they made us laugh. Now, I had a question as well, and I don't know where it is. I may have lost it, but if it... Okay, we can come back to you. All right, thank you. Councillor Brideau, thank you. I have nothing to add tonight. Councillor Thibodeau, I have nothing either. All right. Councillor Turgeon-Roy, thank you, Your Worship. Two small things. I just want to recognize the teachers and educational staff. This is the week of Educators Week, Recognition Week. So I want to thank them for all the work they do, the difference that they make in the lives of our young people. Second thing, I attended the Saint Valentine Gala of the Dumont Hospital. So thank you to the donors. They raised $120,000 at an event, so it was something very special. So, and that goes to healthcare in our region. So congratulations to the foundation, and thank you to the many donors. And that's it for me this week. Last chance. Oh yes, I found my question, yes. I just had to think about it a little bit more. I've been reflecting a lot recently on the issue of citizen participation, and I've been wondering, like, how can we get citizens involved in different ways in a Dieppe dialogue? You know, when we have specific topics, I think it would be helpful for us to think about the most how to get them involved on committees, and maybe we could organize events around a specific topic, and we do a brainstorming exercise, just so that we can kind of get the pulse of the community a bit more, you know, other than just having, you know, when topics kind of land on our table. So that might be a recommendation. You know, if you have suggestions for how we can connect more with citizens, I don't know if you have any suggestions, or tonight maybe, or maybe later in the future. Okay, well, that's definitely something that we can think of. You know, in the past few decades, we've done a number of things, but you know, this is kind of a situation where you have to be careful what you ask for. There's always kind of the two sides. You know, we have to, but we also have to, you know, always be looking for different ways to engage citizens. So in the coming weeks and months, we should be thinking about that. You know, maybe we could have a discussion on what topics as well. You know, we could hold one forum. I don't want to talk about several forums because I want to manage expectations here, but maybe we could have a forum on a specific theme or a specific topic that you'd like to discuss. And now, I mean, that it will take, you have to understand that it'll take a little while to organize that. But, we don't want to have expectations too high, but we also recognize that it's important to, well, I think I'm just looking at different ways of dialoguing with citizens. All right, noted. As for me, we've had a good start to the year. We've had lots of good announcements, and that continues. So we want to equip ourselves and our community for the future. So it's sort of kind of what you were talking about as well. I think the team is working very hard on this, and I'm excited to see our next strategic planning meeting. All right, have a nice evening, everyone. Thank you for your collaboration.